Hello everybody, it's Vertical Sandwich. I have to put on my gloves. So, this week, welcome back to Book Reviews, by the way, and this week, The Diamond Age by Neal Stephenson. Neal Stephenson has the distinction of being the only author that somebody has lent me a book of his, and I've looked at it and put it down and said I'm not reading that. And the reason is because the book was Cryptonomicon, and Stevenson obviously has some sort of training in hard science, probably or mathematics, probably computer science, and so the notes of Cryptonomicon are all just the math with kind of the it's a ridiculous set of notes. You look at it and just go like, I don't have a brain for this. I really don't. So this book is subtitled Young Lady's Illustrated Primer. In Snow Crash, Neal Stephenson took science fiction to dazzling new levels. Now in the Diamond Age, he delivers another stunning tale. Set in 21st century Shanghai, it is the story of what happens when a state-of-the-art interactive device falls into the hands of a street urchin named Nell. Her life and the entire future of humanity is about to be decoded and reprogrammed. So, yeah, the general premise of the book is that in 21st century Shanghai, there is a class of neo-Victorian people. So there's a class system, a Victorian-style class system. That utilizes modern technology and nanotechnology, but is still, an economic class system. And this man is hired to create a book that will train a woman to be like a proper Victorian lady. And some kid, some member of a gang, mugs him and steals it and gives it to his little sister, who they have an absentee mother who brings home like drunken, abusive boyfriends, and so through her abusive life, she is escaping into a fairy tale created by this book that is also teaching her how to speak like a proper lady, and eventually starts teaching her things like how to program computers and various other kind of heady topics. And I have a feeling, first off, that if you're out there, author, you can put in the comments whether or not I'm right. I have a feeling that somebody wanted to write a cyberpunk fairy tale. That the entire excuse for this book is to write a cyberpunk fairy tale. Here's the thing about this book: the fairy tale's awesome. Like, the fairy tale is amazing. Like what the book does to this girl is because it just once the book is open, it latches on to the first like girl around the age of 4 who opens it, and then nobody else can open it. Nobody else can access it, and it just like through the course of events, some people even realize that she has this book and just go like, yeah, but it's not gonna hurt her, so like who cares? And it just changes her. It changes her spectacularly. And what it doesn't do is it doesn't change her brother or her family. So they stay the same. And so she becomes, like, as she grows as a person, these people don't. They're stuck in their lives. And the book acts as a very powerful agent of social change for her, but not for kind of everybody else. And it's good. It's just good. It's just a good book. It's just a really good. It's a good book. It's a good book, and you should. So we're gonna read a part of this book. We're gonna read part of the fairy tale to show you how the book teaches Nell. So her older brother's name is Harv, by the way. So further experiences with the primer, Princess Nell and Harv in the Dark Castle. See, and that's the chapter title. See it there? There it is, right there, under my finger. By the way, this was the Hugo Award winner from 1996. Harv was a clever boy who knew about trolls, and so as soon as he knew that they had been locked up inside the Dark Castle by their wicked stepmother, he told Nell that they must go out and gather all the firewood they could find. Rummaging in the great hall of the castle, he found a suit of armor holding a battle axe. I will chop down some trees with this, he said, and you must go out and gather kindling. What's kindling? Nell said. An illustration of the castle appeared. In the center was a tall building with many towers that rose up into the clouds. Around it was an open space where trees and plants grew, and around that was the high wall that held them prisoner. The illustration zoomed in on an open grassy area and became very detailed. Harv and Nell were trying to build a fire. There was a pile of wet logs Harv had chopped up. Harv also had a rock, which he was striking against the butt of a knife. Sparks flew out and were swallowed up by the wet logs. "You start the fire, Nell," Harv said, and left her alone. Then the picture stopped moving, and Nell realized after a few minutes that it was fully reactive now. She picked up the rock and the knife and began to whack them together. Actually, she was just moving her empty hands in space, but in the illustration, Princess Nell's hands did the same thing. Sparks flew, but there was no fire. She kept at it for a while, getting more and more frustrated, until tears came to her eyes. But then one of the sparks went awry and landed in some dry grass. A little curl of smoke rose up and died out. She experimented a bit and learned that dry yellow grass worked better than green grass. Still, the fire never lasted for more than a few seconds. A gust of wind came up and blew a few dry leaves in her direction. She learned that the fire could spread from dry grass to leaves. The stem of a leaf was basically a small dry twig, so that gave her the idea to explore a little grove of trees and look for some twigs. The grove was densely overgrown, but she found what she was looking for beneath an old dead bush. "Good," Harv said when he came back and found her approaching with an armload of small dry sticks. "You found some kindling. You're a smart girl and a good worker." So here's the thing: is in an age where people, where like actors act out these reactives with people, Nell has her own personal reactive, where somebody is like reading a fairy tale to her, and the fairy tale is teaching her lessons that she needs to learn along the way. Things like what is kindling, like how do you pick a lock of a door, stuff like that. But it's also teaching her how to speak, how to act, how to dress. And while that's going on, behind the scenes, the engineer who designed the book is trying to, because he actually stole a copy for his daughter, he is trying to get it back. And then very powerful forces start realizing exactly what this book could be used for, as far as, it being the most powerful educational tool that has ever been invented. And so they start looking for it, and it becomes this issue with multiple people. And there are some very, like, the book starts with somebody getting a gun put into their skull. I mean, it has very cyberpunk, kind of classic cyberpunk aspects to it. And a lot of it is about class system and kind of the non-utopian aspects that you would expect to find in cyberpunk. And that's fine. But what's really amazing about it is how this fairy tale and this book changes this girl. And you love Nell. I mean, you really can't help but love her, because she's just such a little kid. And as she kind of grows into a young lady, she does it in kind of exactly the right way. The book is absolutely perfect. And part of it, too, is you get to see from the other side, as she's kind of going these horrible situations at home, you get to see the person who is getting paid to be the voice of the book really start to care about her and really start to worry about her, and there's nothing they can do about it because she's separated by an information superhighway. And there's just a lot of that. The characters are easy to care about. The story is engaging. The pace is not bad. This is a heavy book. It's like 500 pages. It's almost exactly 500 pages. It feels like 500 pages, but it's worth the read. It's the ideas in it are good. They're fun. There is something incredibly fun about watching how a fairy tale can be instructive in an age of nanotechnology. Like, that's the real mastery of Stephenson's work in this book, is going, how would I make, like, if I took the classic fairy tale model, but what I wanted to do was teach somebody how to program Turing machines. Like, what would that fairy tale look like? It's an amazing thing that somebody can answer that question and answer it well. It's very well answered in here, and you really start, like, you're reading the primer. I mean, when it really comes down to it, there's all this stuff going on, but you're reading the primer. You're going, like, where is this going? What is going to happen when she gets to blah 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 blah? Like, how is she going to solve this puzzle? Like, what is she going to learn from this? Like, you're taking the journey along with Nell because the primer ostensibly has an end. I mean, it at some point it says, "I've made you into the thing that you need to be," and once that happens, it's enormous. It's enormous. It's the end of a young girl's journey through her childhood. And yeah, so I mean, the Diamond Age was good. It was unlike anything I've read thus far. It kind of in that way. It's more mature cyberpunk than earlier stuff. Like when we talk about something like Neuromancer, we're going to talk about kind of the books that kind of kick that stuff off. But this is a more mature kind of take on it. Clearly, somebody who's comfortable with the genre, wanting to play around. Like I said, I have a feeling somebody was like, "Let's just write a cyberpunk fairy tale. How are we going to do that?" But you would never know that. I mean, it hangs a great story around the cyberpunk fairy tale, and maybe that's what I'm just gonna call it. This is a cyberpunk fairy tale book. So yes, I liked the Diamond Age. I would suggest it. It's a great book. It was engaging, and I think, you know, I think it should be read. I think it's enjoyable. Like I said, just for the fairy tale, I think it's enjoyable just for that. But it's so much more than that. It really is. So that's this is our 1996 winner, The Diamond Age, or A Young Lady's Illustrated Primer. It's actually the last book I finished reading. I am almost done with Ursula Le Guin's The Dispossessed right now, but I finished this a couple days ago. So when we come back, we will be doing more Hugo Award winners, because that's what we do on this kind of series. I'll see you for that. Bye, everybody.